the wings where they attach the weights to them.
Yep.
Yeah. I actually looked at those original studies from, I don't know, maybe it's 20, 30 years ago or something. But yeah, I mean, Bacalski's a smart guy, but like he's way off base there. I mean, we've all done some form of extreme stretching fairly regularly, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, even if you're working on it, like even like within individual exercises, like if you're finishing like your chest workout with some type of pec fly where you're really working an extreme stretch and you're using a load, that's very similar to doing the chest extreme stretch. So yeah, I think he's off base with that comment. But
yeah, I mean, I have anecdotal evidence that you can. The fact that there's a little piece of like tissue underneath here that's fucking floating in my calf, and I can play with it. Like it's a piece of the fascia that hasn't. The rest of it, I can feel there's a ridge there where it's starting to go back together. But there's one little spot there at the bottom of my calf, like by the insertion point, that's tore still, and it's not together yet. And now I have a bruise about that big, right smack dab my calf. I can do calf raises with no weight. I was doing body weight, and they were fine. I didn't have any issues there. And then I did seateds the other day with 2 plates for like 10 reps, and it didn't hurt. And I was like, okay, I think we can just stick with this. Just keep some blood in there. We'll be good. And I actually did cardio on the treadmill yesterday instead of just using the bike. So and it didn't bother me. So I'm like, okay, we're okay now.
Nice.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. I mean, if I push on it hard, even right on the bruise, nope, nothing. There's nothing there. It's just there's no pain. It just has a nice little separation line down the middle that it didn't have before, so it kind of looks sweet.
Yeah, I told you. I tell you, when I first tore my bicep, I didn't tear the tendon. I tore their muscle, but now my left arm looks better than my right. It has a better peak to it now.
Right.
So like when I went and saw the surgeon,
same thing.
Yeah, when I went and saw the surgeon, I was like, well, this is obviously you can't fix. It wasn't a tendon rupture, but is there any way you can cut this side to make it look the same? He's like, I'm not in the business of cutting people's muscles for cosmetics.
Right.
So,
Priest did that to his, and he said it looked better after. He's like, actually, it looks better after I tore the damn thing, because he said it's actually peaked more than what it was.
Much better peak. I think Cutler said the same thing.
Like a long time ago, I think it was Eric Ramirez tore his, and I remember hearing about it. It was like literally on a Geared Up episode. He was talking about. He's like, I'm trying to tear the other one now. He's like, everyone saw it. Like, oh, let me make it even.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It looks so good that I want to do it again. That's fucking hilarious. All right. What's new with you guys? Anything?
I just bought a house.
Did you really? Well, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where are you at again?
We're in Virginia.
Okay. Nice. What part?
Christiansburg. It's near Virginia Tech.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so kind of like.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. We're like 10 minutes from there.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Is this your first house or?
Yeah, never had one. So my wife and I have always lived in apartments, and so we put in a couple offers over the past, I don't know, like 3 weeks? Okay, like a month, past month.
Sure.
And then this last one, we're just tired of getting rejected. So we're like, we're about to get this out. And then we got it for, a good deal. Because we did, I don't know what you guys know about this. I don't know anything about buying houses. But it's like the escalation clause is where you put in a price and then you could put up what it will go to. It's like eBay bidding. So it's like,
sure,
it will, like, if you say like, oh, well, someone comes in at 50, then it will bump it to 55 automatically, and your limit is up here. So it went for way lower than we put our limit at.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
yeah, I've owned a couple, and it's pretty exciting, and it's pretty irritating at the same time. The whole buying process, it's fun to look at them, and it's fun when you move in. But that couple months in between where especially if you're getting like all the inspections done and everything else, that is a pain in the ass.
That happened today.
That's why I got so mad the first house I bought. I got so mad I fucking flipped out on the realtor, because I was like, you didn't fucking tell me this shit. And it's like I had to leave work, then I had to make this run over here to do this, and I had to run over here to do this. That's why the second house that I bought, I built. I just had the builder build it, and I said, fuck it, we're not going through that shit, because nobody wants to do that. I'm not doing it again. So
it's funny. So like actually, our realtor is Brittany's brother.
Oh.
And it's awful. Because like obviously it's like we love him. It's like he's like 22 years old, 23 years old, or something like that. And he's like, dude, he doesn't know what he's doing. And and he's so like we're not like customers. It's like he still gets the money, but it's like we're like, you know, we're like siblings at this point. So it's very nonchalant. It's like, I mean, what do you want to offer? It's like, I don't know, freaking.
What should we offer?
Yeah, like, exactly. What should we? He's like,
it's a market value.
Maybe like try this one. I'm like, well, is that going to win or not? I'm like, he's like, well, I mean, maybe you could try a higher thing. It's like, well, tell me what to do. Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
So I don't know. He sells a lot of land because we're out in Virginia, so I'm sure he's more familiar with that. But
houses. Yeah.
But then afterwards, he was like, didn't we get you a good deal? I'm like, bro, don't even start with that crap. Like, you suck.
So when do you move in? Do you know
yet? Yeah. June 15 is closing.
Okay.
So that's right. That's right before Junior Nationals. It's that weekend. So we'll close. I'll be in Tennessee, and then I'll come back because I'll move everything in.
Gotcha.
I say I'll move. We're paying people to move. We're not doing that again. We already that experience in life to where we've moved a couple of times. It's like, oh yeah, no, I'm not tearing a bicep for this. Yeah. No, I'm not doing it.
Buy all new furniture, sell your old shit, and then just have them move your personal stuff, clothes, and all that stuff. Move it, and then it's so much easier.
It's like when I guess we have like most of what we have is like from when we got married, and we had no money then. No.
Right.
So it's like because you know we've been together for a while, so this stuff is it literally like we have like old chairs we bought it like I don't know off Craigslist, and you know it's like we don't have we could get all kinds of new stuff, and then you know we're not really worried about that aspect, so that's a good thing. We're not like, oh well we have to move this furniture that we can't mess up and blah blah blah.
Yeah. Yeah, buy all new shit. I did. I said, you know what? I'm not taking any of this. So I whatever I could sell, I sold. The rest of it, I just brought to Goodwill.
Yeah.
And gave it to them. And then, whatever money that I got from selling it, I just put it towards the new stuff. And we just bought all new furniture when we moved into that house. And I said, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna move all this shit. It was hard enough moving all the the personal stuff. That's just, so if you've got movers already hired, go with that.
Yeah, no. That's
so be easier.
Like we don't have them hired yet, but it will be done. It's not
it will be done.
It's not even like a question. Like I am not moving it, so it will get from one place to the other. I will not be doing that.
Somebody's gonna do it. It's not gonna be you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to like load boxes with Brittany and write things on them and tape them up. I'm not taking a bunch of crap out of this house. No, they can move it. I don't need to do it.
Awesome. And Andrew, what's new with you?
Just cranking away. I had my own little pec tear scare about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, of course, what exercise it was on, bench press. I never do them, but I'm doing one of John's Meadows programs again right now. And he had it written in. We were still supposed to be going light,
Which
we were
one?
just doing like the last one, Avalanche.
Okay.
It's like an 8-week program. I think we were on like week 4 or 5 when I did it. And it was like the second or third exercise. And I just, and I had issues last year where, like I was only able to dumbbell press like 85s for like 10 pounds because of a neck injury that I had. Right. And over this time I built them up. So my point for saying that was right before this exercise, I'd actually hit the 150 dumbbells again for like 12 reps and felt really good, and did a back off set with like 125s for 22 and felt really good. So I'm like, I'm back in, like my shoulders healed, my neck's healed, everything's good. So we moved on to the bench press, and we were again only going light. We were just doing 275 sets of 6. And on my second set, on the first set felt like butter. Second set of my 4th rep, I just felt that feeling that I know probably all you guys have felt at some point. And I was like, grab it. Yeah, I'm like, grab it. He knew what I was talking about. So anyway, I took it easy on chest for 2 weeks. And then being the moron that I am, last Monday, we're back to the incline dumbbell press, and I was feeling really good. So I go back to those 150s again, and I start cranking away on them. And on my 4th or 5th rep, I felt a little twinge that was going to tell me that next rep you do is going to be a really bad, like you're going to tear it. So
it's going to tear.
I just dropped them. So I'm back at it again. And I told Meadows about it, and he's like, yeah, you're an idiot. Like, you should have not done that. Like, you should have been pressing the little pink dumbbells for like, it's a 25. So yeah, so that's what's been going on with me, just kind of healing it, you know.
Yeah. The ones on the
all
end
the
of
good stuff.
The ones on the end of the rack that everybody uses for rotator cuff moves, those are what you're supposed to be benching right now.
Yeah. It just sucks because it feels great up until when it doesn't. And when it does, and it gives you that signal like, oh shit, like the next one's going to be a full like tear. Yeah. So
at least you get the warning. You get that warning rep that you know it's about to tear if I don't stop.
Well, that's smart because I guess. Oh, I would say that's smart because I mean we've all kind of felt the warning rep, but so many people have been like, it's like they're too like, oh, I'm so hard, I'm just gonna push right through. It's like, yeah, okay, well that's why you're mangled, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've had so many of them over the years, like especially in the pecs on both sides. I've had twice now, never a full rupture or anything, but like I think I've just been so cognizant of like what that feeling could be that, you know, I just instantly like rack it and I'm like, all right, I'm done chest for the day, and I don't test it again, you know. But yeah, I think we all know what that feeling is like. You do one more, like you're really getting in the danger zone there.
Yeah. I didn't get that warning rep when I did my calf. It just happened because I was actually warming up when it happened. It was my last warm up set, and I had like 300 pounds on the calf raise. It's like, and it's not even the straight up and down vertical calf raise. This is like the Icarian one that's kind of on an angle, so it's not even that much load on there, and I'm just stretch up, stretch up, stretch, start to come up. All of a sudden, it felt like somebody hit me in the back of the leg with a baseball bat.
Jesus, when was that?
2 weeks ago.
Oh,
And it felt like somebody hit me right in the back of the leg, and it sounded like the door slammed behind me because there's a door in the gym like that goes to the back parking lot right behind that calf raise. And it wasn't the door slamming; it was my calf blowing. It was the noise I heard.
I think it was
a fucking shotgun going off.
I think that day was the day I tore my hamstring.
Yeah, it was around all the same time. So, oh well, it's good now though. It's just bruised. Todd, what's new?
So, 2 weeks ago I tore my hamstring. Maybe it was 3 by this point. And then it's funny because we had this conversation with Austin Carr, and you were telling me, I'll go 6 to 10, but just be slow and controlled. And I was having the best hamstring day of my life the next day. And it was, I did what I always tell people never to do. And I went first thing in the morning because I was so excited to train hamstrings. I didn't want to eat. I just wanted to go to the gym and do it. And so I went in there first thing in the morning on an empty. I had like 50 ounces of water, including my pre-workout. And I did calves and adductor, seated leg curl. I was particularly weak and I didn't know why. And then I did lying leg curl. And then I went and did single leg curl. And then I went to do straight leg, Romanian deadlifts in that machine I like to use, the shrug machine, the hammer strength shrug machine. Mm-hmm. And normally I feel my hamstrings get a stretch at about 225, 315, the stretch starts disappearing. 405, I don't really feel it anywhere. It's just heavy. And then 475, 500, I feel it in my guts. So today I'm like, I'm going to go easy and I'm not going to do 500. So I worked up to 405 and I felt it really good in my hamstrings, like really, really good. And I'm like, oh my God, I've never felt the hamstring stretch with 405 before. And so I'm like pausing at the bottom and pushing my butt out to get a little bit extra stretch. And normally when I tear a hamstring, it's usually a pop, one pop. This is like I got from the bottom of my left all the way up to the middle of my left. Like I just, and I was like, wow, that's not good. And I put the weights down. I texted my massage therapist. And then as soon as I put my phone down, I got like nauseous and dizzy, and I couldn't see and I couldn't hear. Like I couldn't even see the text. And I'm like, oh my God, don't throw up, don't throw up. I'm like, am I having a panic attack or am I going in shock? I was like, this is bad. I've never torn anything this bad before. And so I used that night. I came home, did BPC, TB500, IGF-1, in a hot bath. Then I changed the temperature to cold. And then I used ice packs the rest of the day. And I was using like the leg, the knee wrap on my thigh to hold the ice packs in place. And by the next day, I was fine. I could walk on it, no big deal. Pain was gone in 3 days. And like when I got it worked on by my massage therapist, he was like, "Oh, there's blood everywhere back here." I was like, "Oh, that's not good." And then he said it was super contracted, but like it loosened up. It was great for like a week. And then I got sick. I got like one of the worst colds I've ever had for like 6 days rather than 1 or 2. And I'm still hacking up phlegm. And I went and did legs. I want to say it was Sunday. I did a really light leg session. I did adductor, calves, single leg curls with 40 pounds. Right leg feels fine, obviously. Left leg popped on the 5th rep every set. So for 3 sets. And I was like, and I didn't know if it was I didn't know if it was a pop, like I tore the scar tissue holding it together, or if it was the fascia had glued to the scar tissue and it was just dislodging, or whether it was a spasm to protect it before it tore. But it didn't really feel like anything, and it started feeling a little bit warm and throbby after that. I did leg extensions, superset Bulgarian, like the way Keith suggested after that, and I left. That was it for my leg day, nothing really. And my legs were really good and sore the next day. And then I got the massage therapist to work on the the hamstring. He said there's nothing really wrong with it. By the way, the next day didn't feel pain or nothing. It actually felt sore, like I trained it, not throbby like it was injured.
Like it was hurting. Yeah.
But ever since then, like my workouts have sucked. Like I can't get a pump. I'm weak as fuck. I'm out of breath while I'm training. And I don't know if that's just because I'm sick or what, but it's like I'm 12 weeks out now. So I'm into prep and I'm starting my prep and starting reducing calories. And I'm now using significantly less weight on everything. Like legs are a total shit show. Like I have a fraction of the weight for hamstrings, and I haven't even started with presses yet. But even upper body, I'm using like half the weight or 3/4 of the weight for everything. Getting half as many reps with incline barbell press. And I don't know if it's like because your body can't really fully contract without contracting everything, that when you get to that top end of the weight spectrum, when the whole body needs to fire, it isn't firing because it wants to protect the hamstring or what.
I would just take that as a sign to like take like a good 4 to 6 days off completely, like everything, like not even cardio.
I took 6 days off already. I just came back this weekend. I took a whole week off.
I would still take. I mean, but you were sick that whole time, right?
Right, I was super sick.
Yeah, almost doesn't count.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
your body's trying to recover from the sickness and never even has a chance to recover from the injury.
Well, here's what I write to clients like verbatim when, like, if someone described that same exact situation to me, I'd be like, look, I don't want you going to the gym until 2 days after you've been getting full meals in for 2 days, like full meals, everything, everything feels good. You're getting your water in, like life is normal. It's just, you're not going to the gym, that kind of thing, for at least 2 full days. That would just be my advice, but.
Okay.
All of Todd's meals come out of a cup.
Mm-hmm.
True.
What, they all shakes, or what are they?
Chicken shakes.
Yeah, chicken shakes. So it's like I don't know. It honestly wouldn't surprise me if he was like, because this is just how he is. It's like he's sick, he doesn't feel good. He's like, okay, well, if I just end up putting 9 scoops of carbolin in this jug, then I can use it as like a drip, and then I can take this chicken, I can do it, and I'll just pulse this every 2 hours, and I'll just get all my food in this way. It wouldn't surprise me if he never missed like a calorie.
Nope. I was on point the entire time I was sick. Yeah, I was right now. The way it is day 1 is 4,500 calories. Day 2 is 3,500. Day 3 is 4,000. Day 4 is 2,500. And then it's those 4 days in rotation.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right. Trying to get Justin to come through. He said he's ready, but I can't. He's not. It's not connecting.
Cool.
He's not picking up. So I'm waiting on him.
Which perfect timing for my coach to join us.
Yeah, I'm waiting on him. You guys want to tackle some questions?
Yep.
Sure.
All right, let's do this. What do you guys think is the most neglected thing during prep?
Jeez, thing.
Yeah, go ahead, and Nelson, you can start.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just pick one.
Yeah, I would say if I'm just looking as a whole, I would say maybe neat.
Yeah,
maybe
makes
like
sense.
8 weeks down. A lot of people get really tired, so they start, sitting down a lot. Obviously, it's like you're exhausted, so it's like you just start sitting down, you start laying around. It's like let me get like you're getting extra naps when you would be moving all around doing stuff. So I mean, heck, I remember what Porter had people do is like he'd just be like, "Hey, get a standing desk. If you're taking extra naps, get a standing desk, stand up, work. Better to have to take like 2 days off because you're ahead and ripping through calories than to be like behind and have to add more cardio, which is just like mind numbing. And
Right.
Obviously, it's like you're probably going to get more elevated cortisol from having to do whatever 2 sessions every day with the high numbers, more so than you would like just because walking around you're doing stuff. Because I mean, like if you're doing stuff that's normal, errands, starting a project. I mean, a lot of people suggest starting a project during prep, so you have your hands moving, your mind moving. That like all that's beneficial. So I would say don't neglect neat.
It's so funny you say that because I did the opposite.
Of course you do.
I was like, you know what? I want to make sure that when I'm prepping, I'm not missing out on fidget factor. Because before there was the term, we used the term fidget factor.
Yeah.
So I was like, I won't want to miss out on fidget factor. So what I'm going to do is all off season, I'm not going to do anything but watch TV. And then so I'll take extra naps and I'll only watch TV and I won't go to the mall. I won't participate in daily life all year so that when it comes diet time, I'm not missing calories that aren't accounted for.
I mean, it makes sense because it's you. So it's like you periodize your neat. And so literally it's like you take periods where you're like, I'm going to not move. I'm going to try to like think softer. I'm going to like lay for most of my time. If I can, if I can sit and reach it, I'll sit and reach it. If I can lay and reach it, I'll do that. And then after it's like, now I'm going to act like a human. I'm just going to do stuff.
Right. What's funny is I actually do that like with my bed. Is I put my Tums in the bed with me rather than on a nightstand, so I don't have to go over and reach. I can just reach, and the Tums are right there. Or there's remotes. I've got all the remotes in the bed with me. I don't have to actually reach over to a nightstand.
At first, what he does is he puts them right here, so you can just roll over and get them.
And then, like a pillow mint.
Then, like as prep goes on, he puts it a little further, so he has to do this with his elbow.
Yeah,
it's with the remotes when I'm sitting in my daddy chair. I call it that because it's one of those recliners, right? You know how the buttons are rubber, so I put them on my chest like leeches.
Oh my god!
I don't have to reach over to get the remotes. I just have to grab them off my chest, use it, and put it back.
For everyone watching this, none of this applies to you. Like your metabolism will never be this fast. Not if you were on 16 Serostim, I promise.
It's true. Andrew, what do you think? What's the most neglected thing during prep?
Let's see. I got to follow up a little bit with what Nelson said about like the neat thing, because I bet a lot of clients fall into 2 categories. One category where like they're like, what's next? More. But then like I've got some people, I know you guys do probably too, that like they're like, oh coach, good news, like I got it set up so I'm gonna take the last 6 weeks off from work. And like they have like a busy job where they're on their feet all day, and I'm like, well, you're gonna be doing like 2 sessions of 45 a day, like just so you know, to make up for that. And they're like, no, like I'm gonna be like, I'll just get my meals in, I'm gonna have time to take a nap every day, I'm gonna do, and it's like, well, yeah, but you're missing out on like at least 1,000 calories that you're going to be burning. So you're going to be doing like 5 dog walks a day. You're going to be doing extra cardio sessions. So yeah, so I just to follow up on that, to come up with something different, because that's actually the first thing I thought of, because most bodybuilders are pretty lazy, but maybe just water. Getting your fluids in. I would say actually it's more of an off-season thing than anything, though, because I was explaining this to a client the other day because his appetite is like shot. And I'm like, well, how much water are you drinking? He's like, I guess I've only been drinking like maybe like 1.5 liters or 2 liters a day, including his intro.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so what happens when you're drinking, say in prep, 6 liters of water a day, and then you cut to 2? You start to hold water, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's going to take your appetite away even more, and it's just going to be a problem that continues to confound. So I'm like, all right, dude, like minimum, you need to drink at least 1 liter of water, or 600 milliliters of water, a shaker cup, in between every meal. And I guarantee, and don't do it with your meal, do it in between your meal. Like just down it real quick. And I guarantee you're going to start holding a little less water, and you're going to start feeling a little bit better, and you're going to actually get your hunger and your appetite back. So, a little off topic, not necessarily for prep. I guess another thing that maybe like people neglect is like their loved ones, their spouses, to take a different direction. Like
that's a good one
because they're just so like, I got to win my class, I got to qualify for nationals, which is top 5, I guess, in placing now. You know what I mean? So just another thing to throw out there.
Wait, is it? I don't think it's that for bodybuilding.
I just looked at the thing today.
They did
because
they extended that again. Yeah,
just for this year, for last year and this year. Yes,
last year.
So
this year,
I know they made a special exception for last year, but like it's always been top 2, right?
It's always top 2.
It used to be top 5 for the longest time. It was top 5. Then they changed it to top 2 in 2017.
Okay,
they made it top 2 for 3 years. Then they wanted to keep it that way, but because of last year, they made it top 5 because they didn't have enough shows. And then this year, they've extended the top 5 because they're not sure about shows in some of these states.
Like, dude, if you get 5th at a qualifier, you can go ahead and cancel your hotel room.
Right.
Like, you don't need it.
Yeah, but it's like how many bodybuilding classes actually have, at least in the supers or sometimes the heavies or the really light classes, actually have 5 guys in them. So like literally being like 15 weeks out, I could just enter my local show, get 4th place, even though I'm way out of shape, just so I got my qualification through 2022. I think they should have just kept it at top 2, honestly, because the good bodybuilders are going to come out and qualify.
Right.
We don't need to have.
They're going to anyway.
Yeah, there's enough shows at this point. I think we're seeing, especially Florida, Texas. There's shows. I mean, there's shows every weekend. Sometimes two in Florida every single weekend right now.
Yep.
You could literally say, "Hey, start prep next week. I'm gonna go enter the supers. I know there won't be more than 5, so I'm good." And then qualify the week before you start prep.
What I don't get is like, at the North American it was 1,500 people, which is the most any show's ever had in the history of ever.
Yep.
So is the theory that some of them were qualified from 2019, and therefore this time there's no residual qualification, so the national competitions are going to be drastically reduced?
Well, you got to frame too.
I think they just
everything had been canceled prior to
nearly as many shows. I think they still thought that there was going to be like half the amount of shows in 2021 as there were in 2019, like there was in 2020. So I think that was their mindset with that. But,
So is there less?
We just had one in Michigan, so last weekend.
Yeah.
So.
Flint.
All places, Flint has one. You want to close down a city for a show? You got to Flint doesn't have their water crisis taken care of yet.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's easier for those people to dry out because you just don't want to drink the water.
You don't have to drink
Actually, Keith can hold up his glass of whatever that is, and that's what Flint water looks like.
Yeah, this is iced tea flavored Crystal Light.
Yeah. It was like you were scaring the crap out of me because for a second I thought like that was legit your water. Bro,
I'm on the other side of the state.
Fluoride.
My water's good. We don't drink out of the Grand River. They drink out of the Flint River, literally.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not kidding. When I was in the Caribbean, that's what the shower water looked like.
God.
If you don't have a water purifier, you have that. That's what it looks like. It ain't just dirt. There's all types of fun microbes and stuff in it.
Yeah, there's no point. Don't take a shower. It's like, I'd rather
I'm going to go the opposite way.
I'm going
to go the opposite way of Nelson on this topic. Okay. I think the thing that, for me, that I see the most neglected is rest on prep. They want to do everything because they're go, and they don't realize that they're doing all the cardio and everything else, and they want to be, you know how you get when you're hungry, you try to keep yourself occupied, and they end up keeping themselves more occupied than they would normally and they don't remember to rest, or they don't take days off. They're like, well, I've got to train 7 days a week. Well, no, you don't.
Oh, that's mental though.
Right.
Yeah.
But then they end up, running themselves into the ground and stuff because, they haven't got enough recovery time or enough rest, and they just end up, how many times do you see somebody looks really, really good 4 or 5 weeks out, and they keep pushing like they're 4 or 5 weeks out all the way to the show, and they show up looking just like terrible. Like you can just see their run down. They should have pulled back a long time ago. They would have looked better. They didn't get any rest. They didn't pull back on their cardio. Their coach told them don't do any more cardio. They kept doing their cardio because they were afraid to be fat on stage.
Yep.
I mean, if you're afraid
it
of
goes.
being fat on stage,
Oh,
you're
go ahead.
going to be anyway. You're always going to think you're fat until 6 months after the show, and you look at the picture, and you're like, oh, that actually looks pretty good.
Fuck yeah.
It's funny because it's like you reach back and like kind of pinch your glute, and for most people, there's something there. It's a little something there. You might still even be able to see lines, and like there's still something like there. And you're like, well, I guess I just look like crap today. It's like, then that 4 month after picture when you're actually fat, and you're looking back, you're like, oh dang, dude, I look pretty good there.
And you're grabbing a handful of glute.
Oh, okay. It's like it's like this. It's like the calipers wouldn't close around it.
They break.
Yeah.
They
It's like your calipers go up to 30 millimeters, and it's like, well, I guess it's more than that.
Right. All right. Next one is, this is a good one. We kind of already talked about this. Healing tips for muscle strains. Please share your own personal experience. Who wants to start with this one?
I kind of overshared already.
Yeah.
With my hamstring.
Yeah.
BPC, TB500, IGF-1, assuming you're already using GH and anabolics.
Yep.
That's my calf. I put BPC 157 and HGH right into it. Like right into where it was tore at. I stuck it for about 5 days straight, first thing in the morning, and it was perfectly fine within a couple of days. Yeah. Didn't no more pain, nothing.
I like the TB
doses.
It's
You got about doses.
inflammatory.
Yeah. Barry,
Doses.
I want to hear Andrew's doses because he does them high.
Yeah.
So with the BPC, like I'll go right to 2 milligrams a day for like 10 days, and then I'll drop it down to milligram a day. It split into 2 doses throughout the day, like morning and night. But 2 grams for like 2 milligrams, for 10 days, and then a milligram after that for as long as I feel like I need it. But then I take 250 to 500 micrograms a day, even if there's nothing wrong, or I should say every training day, so 5 days a week, just because like I feel like it does impart a benefit. Like I took it straight through all of 2020, and I didn't have any like those little tweaks or things that like make you go, oh man, I need to use BPC, because I think I attributed that to using the BPC daily. For the TB, I do half a bottle, 2.5 milligrams, like on a Monday, Thursday type thing. And then I'll do that probably for like 3 to 4 weeks. Usually it's like I run out of bottles of it. And because I always have BPC on hand. TB, I don't usually have as much. But then by that point, 4 weeks later, you're like, oh, the acute injury is kind of healed. So I'm good, Right. And then as far as GH goes, I mean, my rule of GH is always like as much as you can afford. More is always better usually. I have seen like one person that was using farm grade that just held like a shit ton of water, so we couldn't really run it that high. But for the majority of people, I've just seen, myself included, the more the better. If you can afford to do a bottle a day, then do a bottle a day.
Right. Okay, so hold on, wait. So before other doses, I want to talk about that for a second. So where would you put the cutoff then? Would you say there's no cutoff? Like Jay Cutler, no cutoff?
Oh, you mean like if I could do 2 bottles of Serostim a day?
If I could do 36.
Well, in my experience, since I've never done 2 bottles a day, I've done a bottle a day, I've done half a bottle a day, and I've done like 2 or 3 units a day. And I will say that a bottle a day, you feel like Superman from the minute you wake up until you're typing on the computer and you feel like you have a whole arm pump. You go into the bathroom, you look at yourself, and you're like, dude, I just feel like I hit chest and shoulders, you just feel great.
Are you a drier person or are you not?
Yeah.
You are. So
I'll use GH the day of the show.
Okay, sure. No. So when we're talking are we talking Serostim or Genotropin? I'm getting now very esoteric.
Okay, so I prefer Serostim. I like. Well, yeah, go ahead with what you're saying.
What I was saying is because Serostim for me, it's like it makes me like wicked watery, and I'm not a dry person, so like Genotropin for sure. I feel like I can run more and look not like a pile of crap. But I've pushed doses on both. Now I haven't done a bottle because I guess I don't know how long I would run that experiment. I did try to do. So the most I'll say this: the most I've done for any extended period of time was 9 IUs. It was three, or I guess it would be 3. So yeah, 9 IUs, and then for the longest time, like for 2020, 19 to 20, I did 8 all the way through. But I tried to break it up and do an experiment where I was doing 10. 5 times. And I lasted 4 days before I was like, I look so watery. This is just ugly. Now, the aldosterone from that would have lowered, and I would have come out the other side in probably a couple more days, but I couldn't like stomach it.
Well, so I actually have a little a plan for that actually. So okay, how'd you feel on it, and how'd you perform on it? On the max dose you were taking?
Oh, pumped and wild.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think you put on any fat?
0.
Okay. Exactly. So it's just water. So here's what I would do. It just, I would run that dose right up until like 5 or 6 days out, cut it out completely, and then I would actually add probably half that dose in the day before the show.
Okay.
Okay. Because I don't think there's enough time for you to hold water on that half dose. That, if you're running 10 units to throw 5 in, or maybe you could even throw 10 in again, I think you're going to get your fullness back, but not enough to make it look like you're holding water. And plus, with the conditioning that you get in anyway, so you're holding a tiny little bit of water. Okay, so now you just get bigger and fuller,
Right, you're right.
Yeah, you pull all the water in.
If you're taking water out that day anyway,
right?
Where it doesn't come from anywhere magical, right?
It's not magically.
Yeah, it doesn't just show up.
You're right. All right.
Well, some people, it seems like it does sometimes. I just saw you 3 hours ago. Like, what the fuck happened?
What the fuck happened?
Like,
they didn't tell you
home.
Yeah, they didn't tell you they were guzzling water back at the hotel room.
Yeah, I think a lot of times though, they're following the plan, but they just get so nervous, and then cortisol goes up, and then liver's dumping glucose, and it's pulling water out in the bloodstream, etc. But
it could be.
Yeah.
So obviously, you're talking about doses of what do you call it, farm grade GH. So I have this theory, and some people agree with this theory. I talked to Justin Harris about this. Is that like if 10 units of farm grade gets you a 36 GH rating on blood tests, and 10 units of Chinese crap gets you a 30, then if you use 12 units of Chinese crap, you're going to still get the 36 that you would get off the 10 units of farm grade GH. And so there's 2 camps. One says there's no comparison, and the other one says it is just a math equation. How do you feel about that?
I'm in the first camp personally. I just don't think there's a comparison. There was one generic that I liked, and I know Matt Porter was using it too at the time. Kefe. I don't know if you guys have ever heard or seen that one. That was really good back when I started, back in like, I think it was 2013 or 14 or 15. But then from 15 on, I switched to Serostim, and it's, in my opinion, it's worth the extra money. And I don't really care what the blood work says. Like I use the mirror more than anything, and I can just see and feel that difference. You know what I mean?
Okay. So I guess the next question is 7 units of Serostim per bottle, correct?
18.
18.
So you use a whole bottle of Serostim a day? 18 of Serostim.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's an enormous amount.
Yeah, it was expensive. I did it for I think 29 or 31 or 32 days from one show to the next, because I just over dieted myself like crazy. And I was still using like 6 units. And then we came up with this plan where we basically added 500 grams of carbs in a day and added a bottle of GH, and my body just started more.
Yeah, I bet you took off like a monster.
I weighed in at 238 at one show, and I weighed in at 249 like 29 days later. In the same
I remember these pictures.
Yeah, dude, like it was pretty nuts.
Yeah, I remember these pictures because was this Was this when you handed over your prep to John?
Yeah. So okay. So the long story is,
Yeah.
so I sent you a video, I think, when I was like in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
And that was like, dude, that was like 20 weeks before I competed because I didn't know what a show I was going to do.
Right.
We talked about it. Like, we just don't want to be the fat coaches, like at the shows and
100%,
stuff.
100%.
And you know, like, of course, when like Rachel's dieting, she did 6 professional shows last year. So like, you know, when she's doing cardio and like we have nothing but clean stuff in the house, we're not doing free meals. It's like, all right, like I like that lifestyle anyway. I like being hungry. I get more work done. So. So I went a little crazy. Like, I was doing like double cardio sessions a day, and then on top of that, getting 10,000 steps in a day. Yeah. And like, I brought my food down so low because, of course, I'm around because I traveled with like all my clients last year, and I'm seeing people that are peeled. So I'm like, fuck, I'm fat. When I look back on it now and I look at my check-in pics, I'm like, I was probably like one of the most in shape guys in the building at North Americans that day. Like, I could have just, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Question.
Like,
I mean, even like, I was seeing him at North American, like his face. It's like you're like you don't fake a face like that. It's like he's in shape.
No, I was flat as a board because I just hadn't been like. So I got home from North Americans and I took pictures.
Wouldn't you agree that like show weekends, you're probably going to get flatter regardless. You're going to get worse.
Because you're walking from hotel to hotel room, like you're not, you know, you're waking up at 4 a.m. to drive a client to get their tan, then you're going to bed at 11 o'clock at night because you're seeing that person up on the 8th. Yeah, so yeah, exactly, and like, you know, you're stressed, but then you're still getting your cardio and your training in on top of that, right? So, because you know, when you travel, you want to go to different gyms and you meet up with other people you don't see regularly, etc. So yeah, it's just nonstop. So anyway, I got home and I was like, dude, I don't even think I could place in like a men's physique show right now. Like, I was that. So I took these pictures and I sent them to John because I wanted him to just shit on me. I was like, hey, what do you think? Do you think I could do a show anytime soon? And he was like, holy shit, you're peeled, but you lost all your muscle. Like, what have you been doing? You know? So I told him I'd been doing, and he's like, all right, why don't we add some carbs in? I'm like, what do you think? Like 50 grams? And he's like, no, like I'm thinking like 500. And I'm like, of course, you know, when you're in the drive to like get leaner and leaner, you're like, oh, I can't do that. Like, that's way too much. You know what I mean? But I did what he said anyway. And we added those carbs in, and I went and did a show 2 weeks later, and I was still like just super flat and emaciated, and like nothing. I think we brought my carbs up to 750 a day, like no days off, and throwing free meals in like every third day. And I wasn't putting on any fat, but I really wasn't getting that much fuller either. So I got like my first second place in an open class since ever at this at the Atlanta Chicago Pro Show. And I knew it was not my best look. I was in great shape, but it just was not my best look. And so I'm like, John, let's turn it up. Like, you know, what do you think? And so he's like, why don't you throw a bottle of GH in a day? You got enough? And I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. And that's when like 3 days later, like I was up like 7 pounds, just as tight, full, and it just kind of got better and better from there. You know, I think I put on like 20 pounds, then we pulled 10 pounds of water back off. So so
it's funny. So I saw Andrew in line buying tickets, and of course, homeboy never says anything. Like, oh yeah, it's gonna be a good show. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, doesn't say, yeah, I'm doing it. He doesn't say anything about that.
Oh, is that at the Chicago?
In the Chicago, yeah.
Oh yeah, I think we talked about the Dante shirts, right?
Yeah. I was wearing a Dante shirt.
Yeah.
By the way, I told you I was gonna save you one. I still have one for you. I'll bring it to you at a show.
Okay, yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, well, I also had a client that was doing that show, and then I had Rachel doing the show. Oh, I had 3 clients: men's physique, Rachel in pro bikini, and then another guy doing bodybuilding, and I something else too. So, and we were there to see a couple friends that were competing as well. Sure. Abner, I don't know if you guys know Abner Logan. He was competing. So yeah, it probably just like literally slipped my mind, you know, like, and you're probably the same way, Nelson. Day of the show, you're probably like still doing your check-ins with your clients, like, to get that shit out of keep your mind off things and stuff. So I was still just in like work mode that whole week.
It's so funny, man. It's like people send you like, you know, texts and email check-ins or whatever. So don't check this till after the show. It's like, well, you sent that. I'm gonna do it.
Look at it right now.
Yeah. It's like I have freaking 40 emails. Like, well, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah. Well, nothing to do. You're just going to sit there and
I mean, honestly,
anyway, right?
It's kind of nice to kind of get lost in work and not have to like focus. Because like, what's the worst thing that we could possibly do? Go look at ourselves in the mirror 19 times. Like we don't need to do that.
You need to be, sitting down, feet up, doing nothing, occupying that hour and a half in between time before it's time to eat again, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're talking about growth. Here we go. Is growth hormone necessary for contest prep for a bodybuilder?
Necessary.
It's kind of a double-edged. So it's kind of a double question here.
Nothing's necessary. You can do a show natural. You can do a show with creatine. You can do a show with creatine. Absolutely nothing is necessary. I do think. Look, I don't think anyone who's like a first timer should be getting into growth hormone. It's expensive. I think most first timers should compete naturally. At least one or two shows. Like let's see what you can do and what you look like naturally, and then let's start with some basic stuff. Like some testosterone and whatnot. Like a starter pack for contest prep. But I don't think growth hormone, insulin, and stuff like that should be in like the starter pack for your first contest prep.
No, you shouldn't be going 0 to 100 right out of the gate. I mean, you should probably speed up a little bit first before you just mash it down and go.
Yeah.
Because you never know. At that point, have you even learned how to train properly? If you're that young, have you learned how to train properly? Have you learned how to diet properly? Have you learned how to train while you're dieting properly? What's the point?
I do feel like training is an evolution, though, because it's like,
I
don't think anyone's going to train whatever optimally their first year. And even like 5 years in, like, let's say you're doing a pretty damn good job. At 10 years, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, I suck. I didn't do anything right. But it's like, like just the more time you have under your belt, the better you're going to get. Mm-hmm. Especially with proper,
you still, even at 5, you like the evolution from 5 to 10 years, like you said, you might be even better at training because you're the little intricacies of the mind muscle connection and making exercises harder than what they should be, and utilizing the full range of the weight and the load. Still, though, by 5 years of competing, you should probably know how you're supposed to train for a contest. But you're not in there doing singles and doubles 2 weeks out.
No, right. I would agree with that. But I would think that falls under something else that you get with all these years, which is smarter decision making. Which like Andrew referenced earlier, it's like when like this isn't going to happen. I got to drop this weight.
Yep.
Whereas that year 3 person might think that, well, you're pussy if you just if you
push
don't
through and tear something.
Yeah, it's like trying to be a champion, whatever. So
I think it's also like, even if you're doing 90% of the things wrong for your first year, as long as you're given like some level of intensity, you're going to grow, you're going to be stronger. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like those neuromuscular connections are definitely forming. So you're definitely going to get stronger. And then, like you said, as you just kind of turning the dial up a little bit more, like I think a lot of us could probably walk up to a set, like our top sets on like the hack squat with 8 or whatever plates, and be calm as could be, because like we know, like, okay, this is the energy I'm going to have to channel when I do it. So, you just, instead of getting like all pumped up and banging your head off shit, like I've seen some people do, like younger guys usually, you're more calm. You're keeping your parasympathetic nervous system activated versus like just going crazy sympathetic. Sure. And then once you got the weight on, you're doing your controlled focus reps, thinking about everything, and knowing like where that failure point is, and where like, oh shit, this next one would be like dangerous, failure, pain, injury, that kind of thing, Yep.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm not using the working muscle anymore. Now I'm using everything else to help, and something's going to hurt.
Kind of like what Andrew was just saying. I look at being a pussy as a virtue, is that because if you can just accept like, I'm a pussy, so there's no point in me trying to be macho, because no matter how much I try to be macho, I won't. So there's no macho ability. So you just have to accept like, all right, I'm going to be a technician, and I'm going to use this equipment like a rapier, not like a battle axe. And it's all about finesse, even with heavy fucking weight. If you watch Jordan Peters, he is slow as fuck with those 700 or 800 pound stiff leg deadlifts. And he's basically like Rembrandt with a barbell. Is like you're trying to sculpt a perfect physique. You're not trying to just slap on shitty mass like Hap Thorne Bjornsson or like Eddie Hall. So getting all
shots fired.
Shots fired. Yeah. Well, Hap Thorne's trying. At least Hap Thorne's trying, right?
Yeah.
So he's moved in the other direction. But if you rewatch like the Game of Thrones episode where he's hacking up those slaves, I wouldn't want to look like that. I mean, like, yeah, he's 400 pounds. That's great and all, but there's like a middle of the road where you got like a line down the middle of your abdomen. You're going to be on TV like forever. Like it's fucking one of the most popular shows in history. You don't want to have like what can't take a airbrush and draw on some abs. So it's like, so it's one of those things like you want to, if you're all aggression and explosive adrenaline and tendon recoil like powerlifting, that's not going to grow muscle.
Right.
Like if you want an example of shit show, watch me hack squatting 9 plates. Is I'm bouncing off the bottom. There ain't any fucking muscle building there.
Right.
That's just damage to my knees and damage to the equipment.
Right.
But it's good for your ego.
Great example of what not to do.
Which one's getting more damage, the equipment or your knees?
Who fuck knows? But I was 3 weeks out, and I was like, you know what? My fan base doesn't know the difference from a good rep and a shit rep. If they see me doing 9 plates on a hack squat, fucking 3 weeks out, then it'll just go viral or close to it. You know, it might help. Even the slightest bit. I need the money.
It's either going to be on like a awesome repeat, or it's going to be like a gym fail video, you know. And either way, there's no bad press, right?
You know what's funny is I haven't had any shit talking in years. No matter how bad I think my form is on a lift video, if I throw it up, almost no one ever talks shit.
I think that means you're not taking enough risks, Todd.
with the torn hamstring, right? Yeah.
Be like that guy on the leg press that puts like 62 plates on the leg press and has him laying all over the place, and then he lays down and he pushes his knees 2 inches. Do one of those.
Oh, yeah.
And then his whole right leg buckles and breaks and it falls on him.
That's a nightmare for me to watch. Even like the just locking out, or like with calf reps, I think for sure something's gonna tear. I can't do it. I can't watch it.
It's funny that you say that because I have done sets of leg press where I didn't think they were deep enough, and I never posted them out of shame.
Yeah.
And then you go back and look at them later, and you're like, "No, those were pretty deep. I just have no flexibility."
Sure.
But no one else would believe that. You know, they think, "No,
Right.
you just kept repping it." I'm like, those reps,
That's as far as I go.
but they look just as shitty at 200 pounds as 14.
All right. Do you prefer HIIT cardio or steady state cardio for a contest diet? Who wants to take this one first?
I'll take it.
Good.
Both. There's not a preference. Freaking, I use both of them almost every prep. Some people I can't, use one or the other. But
Right.
I think I like cycling them and pulling them off. It's like using HIIT really hard, and then as you desensitize to that, use cardio, sensitize yourself to HIIT, put it back in. Or just like, start with HIIT, whatever, 10, 12 minutes, and then go through a steady state. Sometimes I'll sandwich it and I'll do HIIT, steady, HIIT. I think that was, I forgot who wrote that. There was an ebook a long time ago called The Stubborn Fat Loss. Lyle McDonald. Yeah. He like kind of popularized sandwiching HIIT with him being and whatever. But that was a long time ago from the Bodybuilder.com boards. If you guys are, that old,
Long time ago.
But that I feel like that's something that's extremely effective. And some people, like, obviously they'll say like, HIIT messes, like it takes away my legs, or they'll say that steady state takes away their legs. I usually don't take like what people say like super seriously at first, unless they're very experienced. Because I just want to see, because a lot of time, like, HIIT is a muscular movement, so it can build muscle.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, I mean, especially on like the spin bike, there's no eccentric. How are you really getting that, damaged? You're not. So since there's no eccentric, especially off season, I have guys use that with EAAs, and so many times their legs get better.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like using both.
Yeah, I'll do a lot of the same thing. I actually, what you said with the legs, I feel like the HIIT cardio actually on a spin bike actually builds your quads. Your quads actually work better as you go through contest prep. It keeps them full. So when you're sitting there in dieting, you're deep into prep and stuff, and you're doing 20 minutes of fucking HIIT every day, you're getting literally a leg workout, so that if your leg training does take a shit in there, you're still getting enough stimulus every day from a consistent stimulus standpoint that they're staying full the whole way. So you like volumizes the quad.
Like I think I like some of the craziest pumps I have visually are because I mean you could usually still see lines if you're doing spin bike. Like after a leg workout, your lines are gone. It's over. but like visually, my legs look awesome after cardio on my spin bike. You know, so
I agree. You guys ever do swimming for HIIT cardio?
No,
well, that's the hardest shit I've ever done.
Well,
but some of the most
can swim.
Well, that's the best part. So like I would go and
that's the best part is that I can't swim.
No, my 2015 prep, all I used was HIIT cardio. I did at most 4 15-minute sessions a week. And
whoa, what's
okay, so it's nothing. But I mean, so I get in the pool.
It sucks, but like when you think about over like for anyone contest prep to do a total of an hour, that's nothing.
Exactly. So, and that's why I wanted to try it. So I don't have access to a pool now, so I can't really do that. But so I would set it up where I would do the freestyle stroke for what, I'd measure out what 10 seconds would be. And then I'd take the next 50 seconds and I would just kind of walk the rest of the pool and just kind of stand there until it was time to freestyle again. Now, a couple people who actually were swimmers would be like, hey, do you want me to like show you how to do, the freestyle better? Like your movements are a little off. And I'd be like, oh no, like I want it to be completely, like I want to waste as much energy as I can. Yes. I don't want to be efficient. I want to burn as much calories in this 15 minutes as I can. Of course, I can barely
this to be as big a struggle as possible.
And honestly, it was super effective. If I had access to a pool, I would do it again myself.
That's always a bad idea.
You're getting your upper body as well.
So what I was about to say is, did you notice any improvements?
Every time I got out of the pool, I was like full, like I just done like a pump up workout without the fatigue, soreness, or build up of like hydrodynes or anything. Like it just felt like a good, quick pump. You know what I mean? So then I'd do my posing right after that, and I'd be kind of pleasantly like pleased. What I mean? So it was actually a pretty decent setup. Yeah.
Did you notice any like improvement in mobility in your shoulders and stuff from doing that?
I think I definitely did. Yeah, absolutely. I was pretty limber. I wasn't getting injured or anything like that. I think it's a great form of cardio.
I'm gonna go get some floaties. Start doing some swimming, so I don't drown. Because
no, it's like you can't use floaties because the starving oxygen will help you. So if you're actually drowning. It's like the wasted oxygen. That's
so I actually have to drown in order to get shredded. So let's just do that.
Well, I mean, you're gonna come close to dying regardless, right? If you get shredded. So.
That's true. And you would think so if you talk to some competitors that they're literally dying.
So I can honestly say, like my first contest prep, I thought I was dying.
Yeah. But they show up looking like dieting was optional. They're dying the whole time.
Well, subtracting one donut from your diet, it is a diet. That's just
it is a diet. It is a diet. You made me do what? 15 minutes of cardio? I'll do 5.
Todd, you did a spin bike for one prep with just PlayStation, right?
Right. That was 2010. I would do 2 hours of cardio, 2 hours of weights, 2 hours of cardio, 2 hours of weights.
Oh my God.
Every day.
Yeah. I have it fucking memorized. It was such a good prep. I got through Final Fantasy 12 like so fast. And it's like, it was so effective. I actually looked at that show. It was my second show. It was North American, and I saw Haney Rambod in the elevator. He's like, show me your abs. And I showed him my abs, and he was like, you actually look shredded. And I had like, what do you call it, feathered quads and all that shit. Yeah. But actually this prep, what I was going to do was like, okay, so my concern with HIIT fasted is that it's more likely to burn muscle tissue. So what I was thinking is usually I have lists, but I do it on the Cybex arc. And I crank it up so I feel my glutes and my quads. And then, you know what? It ends up being de facto HIIT anyway, because when I get to a really exciting part of the song, then I'm going to pedal faster. And when it's less exciting, because I have a playlist that no matter how shitty you feel, you get all amped up. And I only listen to it when I do my HIIT cardio. So I just go ape shit on the cardio equipment and scare people around me. And then like after about 10 minutes of that, I'll go and I'll do a variable amount depending on how much the cardio requires of stairs, because then I get a really big quad pump from the stairs only if I do it after that Cybex arc, and then I'll get on the bike and I'll pedal, and it'll first lock up and get like wood, and then it'll flush out. And then I usually do abs or glutes or something after that.
Is your playlist all John Mayer or what?
Yeah, yes. Being tortured. John Mayer being
Bieber in there too, don't worry.
Actually, it's funny you should say that. I found this new technical speed metal, death metal band called Equipoise. And no, this is even funnier. The album cover is a spaceship that looks like a horse jumping out of a wormhole, but it's going right into the sun. Like they miscalculated on their trajectory, and they put the exit of their what do you call it, their folding drive right next to a sun, and then the nose of the horse is getting burnt off as it penetrates through the sunspot crust. And what's even funnier is the gate exit of the wormhole is a pentagram. So it's just like the devil fucked them when they tried to use them to
It's a lot of acid.
Yeah, it's a
whole lot of acid.
A lot of drugs in the making of this album art. Yeah.
Dude, it is.
Somebody got
so
high and they
fast.
they just started drawing.
It is so fast. It's like what do you call it? Infinite Annihilator fast, but it's nowhere near as heavy. And it's like kind of like Rings of Saturn mixed with the Faceless. So it's got like this jazzy technical shit to it that'll just drop in the middle of the song. It's all pianos and acoustic guitar, and then it'll go right back to death metal. So I think that would be like the perfect shit for hit cardio for people who don't listen to metal, because I think it would just scare the fuck out of them into playing pedaling as fast as they can, no matter how tired they are, especially first thing in the morning. It's like a submarine.
Definitely would be awake.
No, I think
you would definitely be. You would be awake after that.
Yes, it would. You'd be awake. No caffeine necessary.
All right.
So, and then I was thinking about putting in swimming post training, because swimming is like HIIT.
Yeah.
And then you can take the shower afterward, because I don't want to have to wake up and then shower twice. You know, like shower, go swimming, shower after swimming, go to the gym, shower after that. It's just too much showering. But like,
if you could cardio in the morning.
No, I usually don't. But because what I do is I just avoid all people.
Sometimes I don't.
You know, the worse you smell, less people want to talk to you. So you end up hurting less feelings. So
if you work from home, though, it's like all you got to do is like bug yourself. So it's like
yeah.
True.
You know,
and you really
if you're cardio equipment at home, but I usually have to go to the gym to do cardio because I don't have cardio equipment at home. But so I was thinking about doing that, just doing my normal cardio in the morning, and then having swimming post training, and then going from my nighttime walks, because I love the hour, 2 hour walk at night. I don't know why other people don't like doing that.
How many hours are in your day?
I usually do 3 hours of cardio.
Summed up like 40 hours in one.
Right.
I usually do
especially when you're talking about the 2 hours of PlayStation while doing cardio.
Oh, that was
double
that one prep.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Todd doesn't sleep, so it doesn't matter.
Well,
just awake.
People wonder why
sleep 12 hours.
Right. Like this is why he stays lean. He's always doing something, even when he's like, "Oh, I'm just laying down." It's like, yeah, but you talk like this. It's like you talk in movement.
I vibrate.
You're just like he just burns the calories up.
All right, here's a good one. Here's a good one. This is from Tommy Styles.
Okay.
Things that you did that nailed your best peaks, either individual or with clients. Obviously, being ready is number one.
Yeah.
Andrew, go ahead.
Had someone with incredible genetics.
Okay, that's right.
I mean,
fair enough, right?
I mean, no. Besides that, things I did. I mean, I think what I do is I play it more on the conservative side, because I would rather have someone come in a little flat but drier than be overly pumped up but spilled and full. So.
Right, yeah.
Especially when it comes to national level shows or like the top regional shows, I feel like the judges that like Steve and whatnot that we see, they're going to reward that dugout conditioning a little bit more than they would just a much bigger person. I have seen it other ways at times, but I think just playing it more conservatively, not second guessing yourself, not jumping to junk food. I think. That's typically my MO for most of the time. There are some people that like, know them for a few years and what their body can handle. So you're throwing like some muffins or, stuff like that. But I think just keeping it same foods that you would keep, every single day of prep for the most part, just increasing or decreasing them. Not going to like, oh, here's another one. Not going too crazy with like diuretics, like I hear some stories like people taking like 325 milligram diazides and I'm like, dude, I start people with like 6.25, maybe 12.5, you know,
Yeah.
2-day shows, like maybe we'll go through a full 25 one, you know?
Yeah, it's strong. You don't need that much.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, yeah, I think that's another thing. Just not going crazy with the diuretic peaks and all that kind of stuff personally.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I would say for me, I think, honestly, it's like some of the best success I've had over the past year with people being like, I mean, if we're talking about aside from genetic anomalies,
Right.
then not using diuretics,
Yeah.
drying them out as hard as I can without them, and that look stays really consistent unless you drink water. Whereas you can keep the look pretty consistent and you'll be drier for a while on diuretics.
Yep.
But then there's just like a leveling off period. So it's like really with diuretics, it's about nailing your timing. And if you don't really have to worry about timing, and especially like this year was pretty good, I'll say. But let's take 2019 at North Americans. It's like, man, the heavies was a nightmare, man. So like the heavies got on at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they told them to be in the room at 8 a.m. Now we didn't do that. We didn't get to the room at 8 p.m. But at 12, or I think it was like 12:30, bantamweights were lining up. So you think bantams, lightweights, usually not a ton of welterweights, middles, light heavies. You don't think 4.5 hours or 4 hours. You think 2
Hour.
maybe. Yeah,
No, it's
maybe
an hour.
like it's like maybe like 90 minutes.
Depends on how fast they can run them through, right?
But man, it's like things got pushed back, and even like they were held in the back room where they were told not to bring food, and
Or the bands or anything.
or you couldn't bring bands, and they were just stuck
These
back
guys,
there.
They went from 2 hours from when they were in the back pump up room, and then they stood in the hallway for an hour and a half, 2 hours before they actually saw the stage. It's like that'd be like working out, like, you know, at 8 o'clock and then thinking you're going to look the same at 10:30, like when you get home, you know,
Right?
Like it's crazy.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I feel like for that show, it's like, man, we did a pretty good job, and even saying that, it's like someone could have done a better job, and by the end of it, could have looked like crap. So it's just one of those things. Like you only last as long as you last with the diazide, you know. And I like using diazide. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. I'm not one of those people who says like, don't use diuretics, blah, blah, blah. But many times I found like if I'm a little iffy with someone, or I'm not sure, or I think I could do a pretty good job drying them out without, I just try to go without, because I can always put it in. I can always add a quarter tab if I need to, and dry them out a little more and faster. But you can't take it back out. Once you put it in, it's not coming out. So I would say, you know, if we're saying be ready early, dry out ahead. And hell, I've found a lot of times where I have to make weight with someone, those are the driest, hardest, nastiest people.
Yeah.
You know,
it's hard to
just
fuck
like,
that up.
Right. It's just like, just don't give them too much water coming back out of it. You have to give them water. They have to get their digestive system moving again, period. Because if you really dry them out, they're going to have to get that functioning.
Right.
Hopefully you don't have to cut out water totally. But, you know, once that's moving and you kind of give them some food, they're already super dry. And since they had to make weight, they're probably peeled out of their mind. You know?
Right.
It's like, and you're not going to put a fat person and then like, oh, I'm just going to suck you down 20 pounds. You know?
Well, yeah, and then you just add a few, you know, you add a few ounces of water with every meal. Whatever carb they're eating is going to soak that up anyway, right? So they're just going to start filling up. They're going to stay dry.
Yeah, man. So I don't know. I think, and the same thing as Andrew. Like, obviously, he's a smart guy, and he's done this so many times. Not messing with food. What they've been eating is probably going to work. And I'll be the first to say, it's like I have guys who get so flat or they look so worn out, whether it's the stress of the week. I mean, I had a guy who competed in Michigan. It's just like the stress of bringing his body down and making weight. It's like he was just getting flatter. Nothing we could do. I'm like, I gave him a burger. I'm like, let's try this. And with how like his aldosterone reacted, he held water from that even. You know, so it's like, it's kind of like, where is your body at that moment? If you're someone who's, and you get to know your client too. It's like, obviously, if you're someone who stresses a lot, probably a burger ain't gonna be the move, because there's a relationship with cortisol and aldosterone. So you have to like kind of be mindful of that. I mean, you could counteract it with aldactone, but then you're just throwing another drug at a bigger problem. you know.
But the back
And
doesn't
another
kick in
variable.
for 7-8 hours
Couple-
anyway.
Yeah,
Actually,
they say
Yeah,
it's a
at
couple
that point.
days.
So you're like, I'm guessing at this point, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
here's my long shot. Like,
Yeah. Honestly, with those people, you're better off like giving them like a quarter Xanax than anything else.
I was just gonna say that actually, like a Xanax to help calm them down.
Yeah,
I actually use the Aldactone sometimes with people, like the night before show, that are like hell bent on taking diuretics when I don't really want a diuretic to have any effect on
Because
whatsoever.
you know it's nothing's going to happen.
It's not, like they're gonna be off stage by the time it actually kicks in. So I'm like, here, just take this. Like,
Give
you're
it,
good.
give it to them Friday night. They won't even know that they've got it in them until Sunday.
Like, wait,
it's 2 days later.
But they feel like they've taken
right.
something.
Have you heard that the Chris Tuttle story when he worked with Aceto? I think it was the night before the New York Pro, and he had it was a 50 diazide and 100 aldactone. And so he's like, okay, let's take 6.25 of the diazide. He's like, I have a 50. He's like, well, like freaking cracking some off. And then
he just starts breaking some off.
So for the aldactone, he's like, how much do you want me to take? And he's like, what do you have? He's like, I have 100. He goes, break it and take a crumble. So he broke it, and then Chris picks off like a tiny corner. He's like, take that. He's like, it's not gonna do anything. He's like, take that. And then he took it, and he's like, it was the best I ever looked in my whole life. So it's one of those things where sometimes mentally even that'll help.
To crap shit. Yeah.
I actually have a little system when I explain to clients. I'm like, okay, so this is a 25. We cut it in half. That's 12 and a half. If we take it and we break that in half, it's 6 1/4. I was like, but then there's a chance I might want you to take a smidge, and a smidge is basically just take that 6 1/4 and like go like that, and then just pick a piece up and like throw it in your mouth. Yeah. And so it's like a smidge is like that basically.
Yeah.
That's your system.
That's funny. I like that.
Shit would drive me nuts. That would make my heart go up.
Right. You're not going to be the guy.
Sometimes people are like, well, I'm not dry enough. I need to take another one. So I'm like, oh yeah, we'll take a smidge then.
Smidge,
I know
that's got to do shit, but yeah.
No, if my coach told me I was dry enough, I'd be like, all right, but because I can't see my ass, you can. So what would I know?
But I think though sometimes people just think that they want to they're covering every single base a bodybuilder could possibly cover in a contest prep, and that includes diuretics and et cetera.
The more drugs you take, the more likely your liver is going to say "fuck you."
Where I'm going with this is that if I think just taking a tiny speck of something is going to put them at ease and lower their cortisol, and then allow me to keep
you're talking about placebo effect. That you basically like giving a bikini competitor 2.5 milligrams of Anavar a day, so that the other guy she would go to doesn't give her 15.
Yeah,
she's gonna leave you if you don't
15
give her
milligrams of D-ball.
2.5,
right,
and then
right.
So much you get the other guy.
Yeah, the 15 Anavar that was never Anavar.
Right. Or
it was just pest-based powder that was compacted into a little pellet.
Oh man,
it's like I didn't realize that Anavar came in gel caps. What are these?
Well, some of these people, when I'm like, well, what do you have? Especially girls, I'm like, well, what do you have? Do you have 10s or do you have 25 milligram, Anavar tabs?
They don't know.
And they're like,
it's blue.
They'll be like, it's liquid. And I'm like, liquid? I'm like, just get rid of that. They're like, well, but I paid $50 for it. I'm like, so you want to risk like whatever's going on here with your body on
for
$50 versus going to someone that I know sells real Anavar? Like, okay, sure, go for it.
Yeah. Well, that's how I feel about liquid T3. If like it freaks the crap out of me, and I'll be like, oh, I paid $40 for this. I'm like, I don't care if you paid $100 for it. That's garbage. Yeah. Get rid of it. And they're like, I always shake it up really well.
Go get real Simon.
You do not shake it up well enough to be as good as pharmaceutical Wade, and no, it's not. Yeah. I know it's funny. We all know this person. I don't want to throw his name out, but he used liquid T3 for, I think it was Nationals a couple of years ago. He's a light heavy. He's a good light heavy. And he was taking, I think it was 25, but his body was, he was probably 75. His body was ripping through food, and he got super flat, and it was something that couldn't be repaired. Yeah. And then later on, his coach is like, dude, we got to backpedal and piece together what happened. And he's like, okay, well, I took this drug. He's like, okay, well, how was this one? What was this one? What did you do with this one? And he finally figured it out. I was like, oh, it was the T3. And he's like,
you're taking 120 mics a day, without even knowing it.
And literally, it's like it had markers on the dropper. So that's how he's doing it. He's putting it in the dropper, not even measuring it, but putting it in the dropper and kind of getting it around the quarter mark. Like, bro,
See, I've been using liquid shit for years.
I'm getting
my
25
God.
one day, 50
Why?
another.
Huh?
Really?
He doesn't fucking need it anyway.
I
Well,
I don't know
know.
why he even uses it.
Liquid T3, liquid Clen, liquid Anavar, liquid
Really?
Straw.
What do you take?
I don't trust liquids.
Do you take 6.25 Mike's T3? Like, what would you possibly need?
All right, so what I found was
He's
that
1.25.
I don't
mics.
like using it except for emergencies.
Sure.
But often, because I'm one of those people that would prefer to have a prep coach at least give me their opinion.
Right.
And so rather than me just doing it myself and fucking myself due to emotions or some shit, especially peaking, I never peak myself because I can't see my ass. So I find that usually most prep coaches want you at around 50 T3 at the end of a prep. And I usually negotiate for less. I usually can get by on 25. I've gotten good results with 37 and a half. I found that when I switched from 37 to a half to 50, my temperature went down. And that I've also found that when I'm using as much, and in order to get back to where I was at 37 and a half, I was using 62.5.
Mhm.
And that when I eat 75, my metabolism's so fast, I cannot not cheat. I'll eat like 8 donuts before I even see
there is that tipping point for sure.
Yeah, so what I found was that the healthiest dose for me was 37.5, and that my T3 level by blood is only slightly higher than it is at rest. If I take 0, I'm at like the very limit of the upper end of normal for my T3 and T4. And if I take 37.5, I'm 10% higher than that, but my T4 is garbage.
Right.
So I found that for me, what really benefits me the most is Tren, because it causes TBG to go down, and it helps my conversion of T4 to T3. So I'd much rather run 100 Tren a day and not use T3 than have to take T3 because it ain't going to do shit. I think it's augmentive at 12 and a half or 25. I think it might be more augmentive than suppressive at 37.5, so I have a slight advantage. But once I get to 50, it's overkill.
Yeah. Let me address this. Just from how I see things, I don't want any like vast majority to be finishing a prep at 50. I would much rather them finish with nothing.
Awesome.
But most of the time it's like at some point in prep for most people their thyroid downregulates. So what I like to do is replace maybe a little boost, but
downregulation.
if it's ever boost comes above 50, I usually just don't do it because I won't give someone 75 mics. Not a male especially. There's no way. On females, on rare occasions, I've done 62, but 50 is like usually my pretty hard stop because hell, I mean, with most like fat genetic people, 50 will get them going. And hell, I'm someone who needs T3 to get lean. Like past like a lean normal person, like
right. I'm the same way.
Lines in my hamstrings and stuff, like I have to have it. Period.
Yep.
So if I'm down to 1,800 calories, then I know that if I'm normally eating 3,000 to 4,000 and I'm still losing weight, then my metabolism must have slowed down. That's when some T3 would have been useful before that point.
Right.
So retroactively, I found that, if I'm going to be at 2,500 baseline, I probably need to have 12 and a half in to keep me up where my normal metabolism would be. Otherwise, why are we even pulling calories out?
Right.
Because you're losing as much metabolism as you are. You're not really creating a deficit. You're just forcing your energy levels down. Right. So once you start losing energy, when T3 would be useful to add in, and small increments of 12 and a half every 3 weeks might be the way I would go up with it. And stopping at 37.5 at this point.
Yeah.
But I've always used liquids because it's easier to get your hands on it. So once you find a supplier and you have a precision amount, well, whether they're 80% or 50% accurate, the dosing, if you use the same brand of liquid T3 from the same guy who makes it, and he has a relationship with you for so many years, then you know exactly how much of that dose to use this many weeks out in order to get you a certain look.
Yeah, most people don't do that.
Right. People shop around for a best price.
They look what's on sale.
I like to have a relationship with the person. And I also
want
think
sale drugs.
Right.
Oh,
and
wait. You're pro, so you didn't get that magic source that everyone's talking about?
Yeah, that people don't realize the only difference between being an amateur and turning pro is now when you look at the pros, it instantly clicks in your head as like, I am going to be competing against that guy.
Yeah.
It's not an abstract thing. It's not like seeing Zeus on Mount Olympus throwing lightning bolts down on those peasants. It's you. You are the peasant that is taking lightning bolts. So
Yeah.
it's like Keon Pearson's
Good way to
entry
put
to 212 of Chicago Pro. I'm like, well, I guess I'm not getting first. That's instantly what goes through your head. It's like, oh,
Yeah, but
I
I
need
think
to be
really
like
good
that
guys
guy.
are like, well, I
The
guess I might
most,
get first too.
huh?
Yeah.
I think there's some really good guys that are like, oh, Keon's entering that. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm
getting first
fucked.
either. So
Like,
Well,
some guys that are like,
I don't think
Well,
I'm the
because
only one discouraged, but I mean, it's like,
Keon wasn't in shape last time, and he smashed people. Not close. I was sitting in like the third row. Not close.
Yeah,
well, he's
And he
more
wasn't in shape.
high
So
in
that shows
public.
you how good that kid is.
So he'd have to get into a
He's so
car
big.
accident or
Right.
you have to lose a leg.
No, it's like, yeah, ninjas would have to attack him like Flex Wheeler.
Ooh, yeah,
And
there
the
we go.
ninjas would have to come back.
Maybe we can find his ninjas for Shad.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is he's like a Flex Wheeler who's not even remotely trying and twice as muscular. So he's by far the most genetically gifted bodybuilder in the history of the sport ever for any weight class.
Honestly, arguably, he might be because
possibly.
It's pretty close.
I know girls who he is talking to, has talked to, in DMs right now, and McDonald's and Chipotle are frequent in prep.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it is what it is.
The only thing I have going for me in this regard is that he's really not terribly into the sport. He's just good at it. And he says he doesn't see himself competing past 30, and he's 26, which means if I can just lose with style for the next 4 years, then I will basically be on people's forebrain. And it's like, this guy might actually have a chance now that Keon's retired when he chooses to retire because he's 30.
It's so frustrating and amazing at the same time. It's like, dude, I'd give my left nut to have the opportunity to care just at that level. But he'd be, I mean, he would be the 212 champion right now.
Well,
yeah.
He wants to be.
He wants to be, absolutely. It's right there. Just take it.
It's so like things aren't different. And, Andrew's saying, oh, yeah, like real GH is so much better than bullshit GH. And you're like, I would never touch liquid T3. And here I am going up against Keon with my liquid T3 and my Chinese GH. And I feel like I'm a Russian soldier in Stalingrad in 42. And they're like, okay, this guy's got the rifle. You carry the bullets. Go out.
Well,
we don't need to give all of you a rifle.
If you don't believe in that, then technically it's self-sabotage, right?
Right.
Because if you think the other stuff's better, then you're doing self-sabotage. You would just need to go get that stuff.
Well, here's the thing. If it's worthless fucking garbage, it's been working so far because I still come in pretty shredded. So I'll just do my best. And it's like, and if it's not good enough, that's fine. Someone will walk up to me and be like, you'd suck a lot less if you use Sterostim. Here's some kits. But it's not like I don't have the finance.
Dude, who's giving out kits?
I don't have access. It's not like I know people that sell prescription grade T3.
Did I tell you one time, like, I just, like,
got in your house?
Yeah, at my house. And I'm like...
He showed up with all the shit. Yeah.
I started, texting my friends. I'm like, hey, did you have something sent to my house? Because I have some Canadian friends. And they're like, no. Or they're like, no. Oh, wait, yeah, I did. I'm like, no, you didn't. Like,
thanks.
No, so I'm, like, waiting on it. And, like, dude, mystery. Like, someone sent me a kid of GH.
And then years later, they were like, yeah, I remember that kid I sent you. And you're like, yeah,
yeah, you owe me some money for that.
It never showed up.
I never got anything.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I think there's a very short window in which you can claim GH. Like if I mean, and I would say, how about
day?
Yeah, how about like you need to tell the person before, or it's gone. Bro. Because
any of that shit.
If I had a couple kids show up here and I didn't have anyone say anything, I'd be like, these are mine now. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know.
You better tell me ahead of time that shit's on its way, or else we're gonna have it. It's
I mean,
mine,
like, obviously,
because
if
it's not something I just want showing up at my house out of the blue that I don't know where it came from.
If you tell me mid kit You can have what's left, but I am taking everything.
I'm gonna get my fee out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to talk to Andrew after this. I want to get that protocol, and then like I'm going to run that until I'm out of your stuff.
All right, here's another good one. Nelson and I had a laugh about this one earlier.
Oh, this is easy.
Pose down between Keith, Andrew, and Nelson. Who wins?
Andrew, this is easy. It's done.
Nah,
If we're judging off
I don't know about
we're judging off of contest pictures, it's Andrew. You've done the best.
that.
Okay. Well, okay. I'm a midget, so I'm out automatically.
I'm a midget too.
You're 2 inches taller than me, so you don't classify as midget anymore. But
I'm 5'5".
You're big, but Andrew's been the most shredded, and on a contest stage right now, that's a count. Andrew wins.
He'd win on conditioning for sure. He wins on conditioning for sure.
But that was one of my clients who was poking over it. He knew it would start a fight. So
poking the bear.
Yeah, but the thing is, all of us are so humble that like each one of us is like, no, he would probably win, or like it's whoever shows up that day, in their peak,
The thing is, though, we get a chance at this rematch. I think you would be the winner, but we get to see it in person this summer, maybe.
If I do the 35 at Masters with him, then yeah, we'll be in the same because we'll both be heavies.
Yes.
Unless you come in as a super.
No, there's only 3 classes at the Universe. So there's the light, the middles, and the heavies. So like basically what they do is, let's say 30 guys show up. They
divide the weight differently.
They want to try to fit 10 guys in each class. So like the lightweight might be like 0 to like 148 or 158 or something like that, and then the middles might be 158 to like 193. And then the heavies might be everything over 193. So, because I remember one of my buddy Tommy, he was so pissed because he was like a middleweight, but like he's like, dude, I'm a half pound over what they set as a heavyweight limit, and I have to go against like guys that are 240 on stage shredded. Like, what the fuck? And he was like 174.5 or something like that.
They had them separate. They had the classes separated last year. I thought they had light. They had lightweight, middleweight, light, heavy, and there might have not been a super.
Only
for the open.
It might have been the open. Yeah.
Dude, if that's how the sport was done and there wasn't preordained weight classes, no one would ever cut water. They would just come in with
field. Yeah, they just come in.
Everyone would have field, and everyone would be coming in full.
But I think we miss out on like some of these middleweights that drop down to lightweights, or like at Nationals this year. Nelson, you were there. The welterweight class, like, were you there, right?
Yep.
Like every guy in the top 10 had like walnut glutes. They were fucking shredded out of their mind.
It was like they pulled out. It's funny. So I was watching, and I watched the whole first call out, and the second call out came up. Then I had a friend come up and you go, "Oh man, first call out's nasty." I'm like, first call out's already gone. This is the second call out. And he's like, "What?" Yeah. So he just showed you like everybody was peeled.
Yeah, dude. Like we're always like, welters is like 3 to 4, maybe 5 guys, and it's kind of like, if it's time to go to the bathroom, that's when you go, I guess. Before the middleweights and the muscle classes start coming on. But like this year, it was like I would say the most competitive class.
That was the one where it was 13 bantams, right?
Yeah, my guy won the bantam class.
So it's like, I mean, like bantams, lightweights, welters, and middles. The whole first call out in all of those peeled. It was like light heavies, or it was like, and started getting a little wobbly, and then the heavies were good. But like light heavies were really the kind of class there, which is funny because usually light heavyweights are most competitive.
Most competitive, most shredded.
Usually,
because everyone falls into that class. It's a super common class. It's funny actually because for me, I'm a light heavy, but there's no way. So this is why I always do like the dumb thing where I'm like, I'm going to be a middleweight. I'm going to suck down. I still think like if I did like USA's, not this year, but if I were doing it, soon. I'd still have to be middle. Like I can't mentally, I can't like be a light heavy yet.
What's your height?
5'5".
We're the same height.
Keith, I've seen you. You're not 5'5". You keep saying you're 5'5". Your body
5'5". I'm 5'5" and like a half at the most.
Bro, you are 5'5" like Santi is 5'5", but opposite. He's 5'3" all day. No one's the real height.
I'm
Telling you.
5'4.1",
I don't.
and he thinks I'm shorter, but I'm not.
Yeah,
He's
he thinks you're
5'3".
shorter because he can't accept that he's taller than that.
Yeah, 5'5".
Yeah, that's why you're like, yeah, no, bro.
Bodybuilding's the one sport where people try to argue that they're shorter than they are.
Yeah,
That's
everybody
crazy.
can.
I was 5'6" in high school, and I've shrunk, so I know that I'm 5'5".
I grew because I used that little back extender, those inversion tables, and I got a 0.4 inches out of it.
Oh yeah, it's funny when we were in Chicago, I saw like a classic guy walking with one up to his room. I'm like, oh, is this your plan for the next 4 hours? You're gonna stretch out, bro.
You can make weight and
Give me
get
the
more
weight.
pounds. It's
Yeah.
hysterical. That's a good.
I need 5 pounds. I need 5 pounds.
Well,
Yeah.
finally,
It's either
Bumpo
lose 5
got them
pounds
to
or
agree
gain
that
an
he-
inch.
Yeah, exactly. Lose 5 pounds or gain an inch. It's like you better pray to God you can gain that inch.
You remember how, like, for years, Bumstead was coming in 10 pounds light because
Yeah.
they couldn't every year. They had re-heighted him, and he wasn't sure if they're going to do it wrong. I guess they got them to commit that, hey, people don't change heights. So
Well-
since you're 6'1" the last 3 years, you're officially 6'1". This is your weight.
Yeah,
So you can
I mean,
now add 10 pounds on.
in the IFBB, they do give you a little bit of a little room. I mean,
Yeah,
like
they do.
I've seen it where there's like stand up tall, and they're like,
Yeah.
like what? Like stand up tall, and I'm like, oh, okay, I see how it is. I see how this works here. I was, you know, I didn't coach any classic guys ever until professionals because I didn't like classic. So I just like people ask, I'm like, nah, not interested. But so you know, now I'm like taking classic people, and it's just one of those things where it was so different from NBC because NBC it's like, you know, they're smashing your hair down,
Oh, yeah.
take off your socks, you know, and then the IFBB they're like, no, like, you know.
They had 4 classes. I'm looking at it right now. They had 4 classes at the Universe for the 35 Masters and for the 40 Masters.
Last year?
Yeah, they did. Looking at it right now. They did Masters 35 heavy, Masters 35 light heavy, middleweight, and lightweight.
Oh, I stand corrected. Because
So they must have just
do three.
they cut out the welters. What they did, they cut out the welter
Okay.
and combined it in the middle.
Well, and the bantams
And the bantams, they put them in
And
with the
the supers.
lightweights.
and the supers.
And the supers are right.
Yeah.
So
Well, they
yeah,
seven
'cause you end up in the
classes.
heavy. You end up in the heavyweight, right? Yeah, you were in the heavyweight because they didn't have a super. So they're just going to have a heavyweight, I'm sure, again this year. So we'll be in the same class if I end up doing 35 too.
Oh, man.
We stand next to each other. That'd be Mutt and Jeff because Andrew will be up here and I'll be down here.
And like it's funny, like
Go
Andrew's
to his
checking,
waist.
his checking pictures, like he's so tall. It lets you realize because no tall people get credit for how big they are until you can kind of like see them in person.
Right. How tall are you actually?
Well, I'm 6'2", but it sucks
what I
because
thought.
you know you look at like, okay, say someone like Keon, he's like compressed into this, right?
Yeah.
And so everything's just so bubbly. You look at your pictures and you're like, dude, I look like a fucking volleyball player, you know? Like,
Yeah.
like until you're like peeled out of your mind and then
Right.
volumized a little bit with like a little bit of a carb up, you know? So like I'm always feeling like, even though I'm a big guy, I'm always feeling like I'm small or light in the
Right.
muscle until like, you know, I'm in shape and like, you know, I can see all the detail and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, like look at what's his name, AK the Giant. I mean,
Oh,
the guy from
That dude is
I mean,
so
he's
huge.
like, dude, he's like 305 on stage. Like, so I think he's like 345 right now. And even
looks
then,
like
he
he's
still
250.
kind of looks, he still looks a little lanky right next to the other guys. So like, height is just one of those things that kills you in this sport, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, if I at my height, the 210, 215 that I'll be around fills me out completely, right? There's nothing, there's no space anywhere. Everything's filled out. But if I was 5'8", it would be the same, right?
Yeah.
I'd start looking a little stringy at that point, and then you get to the point where if I was 5'10", 5'11", I definitely would be stringy. That's why you're in the 240s, and you know, and it's like you don't realize just how big you are.
Yeah, I think I'll be like 251, 252 this year.
Nice.
Just based off how, just doing math and looking at things. You know, you never know until you're there, but just based off progression and stuff. But I want to say, like, I started bodybuilding at the same height, competing at 188 on stage. I mean,
Crazy.
I turn sideways and they go, "Where did he go?" You know. I mean, and then my next show I was 192, and I was like, "All right, I can't compete again until I'm at least like 225," and that's why I took 7-8 years off, just eating, training, and bulking, cutting until I was like, "All right," and then I did my next show at 224 and a quarter. I'm like, "You can't give me that extra like half pound, just put me over the so I can say I'm a super," you know.
Just grab a plate and step on the scale.
There was one of those ones where they made you take off, like put on your trunks.
Oh, I mean, you
I would
gotta
do
do
that,
like,
but I would still grab a plate and then walk out with a plate so I can make middles.
yeah, I remember Porter had some people do to be in the supers for, I think it was Universe, was just hyperload water.
Yeah.
And then they just dried out.
It's like, this is one of those stories where no one's going to believe it, but like people would talk shit and say like, "Oh, you only get first because no one's ever in your weight class," and people like Keith would be like, "No one's in their Todd's weight class because they don't want to lose to Todd, so they just show up the week before, the week after, they'd go up or down a class, or they'd switch to classic." And so like someone was talking shit, you know, like, and I could hear him, so I just went and grabbed a plate and I stepped on the scale, so I made his weight class.
And smoked him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Todd won the Michigan in like what 3 or 4 different weight classes.
Yeah, 4, I think.
That's awesome.
Phantom, lightweight, middleweight,
welterweight.
Yeah.
Wow, congrats! That's cool.
And then he won the overall, and then turned pro a year later.
Yeah.
Yeah, you with the Michigan, it would be funny because they always knew Todd would do the Michigan every single year. That'd be the only show he would probably do would be the Michigan, and people knew that he was there and he'd won every fucking one of his classes every year for like 5 or 6 years running. So it got to the point the last 3 years people were like going up or down a weight, or they were just skipping that show and doing the show 2 weeks prior or 2 weeks after because they just didn't. There's no sense in me going to a middleweight because Todd Lee will be there and I'm not going to lose. So I'm just going to go ahead.
It is kind of funny if you see like the show stacked the week before and stacked the week after.
Todd's the only one on stage the week of the Michigan State.
So like the only bodybuilder that shows up.
These guys did the fucking Grand Rapids or the Nicole Wilkins in place of the Michigan State.
So this one year, it's like I was going to do the Western, and this girl I was seeing was like, "Why don't you just do the show this weekend?" I was like, "I won't look in shape this weekend." She's like, "Yeah, but it's so much more convenient for my schedule." I'm like, fuck it. So it is like, okay. So I just woke up that morning, the morning of weigh-in, and I was texting this like I was running on the stair mill with a garbage bag on and a Viking helmet. I'm like, "Y'all gonna lose," and then it like showed up at the show that day. I made weight. I lost like 20 pounds that day. And this guy's like, "It's going to be such an honor to lose to you, sir." I'm like, okay. I don't know what to say to that. And he was like, "I worked so hard for like 14 weeks and you just woke up this morning and decided to do the show?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Did you do welterweight? You made welterweight for that one, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
He won the welter but didn't win the overall.
It was me versus Logan Barnhart.
You should have won the overall, yeah. That day.
I was close too. And I had taken like an extra week to prepare. It would have been it.
Extra day. Might have been fine. Here's a good one. Favorite bodybuilder of all time and your most influential bodybuilder of all time to you.
Oh my God. This is the worst question.
I like
it. Favorite, I mean, I got like 8
it's so hard. You have to
pick one. All right, pick 2. Pick two favorites, and which one influenced you the most?
I mean, I'll say the one that influenced me the most is John Meadows. I mean, he's you know,
that's
and I think a lot of people can say that, but I've got a really good relationship with him. You know, we talk every week on the phone, and you know, I can run ideas by him and ask him questions and stuff. So definitely been a mentor to me. So I would definitely say he's obviously most influential to me. As far as favorite bodybuilders, I really like Charles Claremont. He was a 90s guy, always came in peeled. Like I remember his face looked like Skeletor one day at one show. I was really always impressed with that. I liked Andreas Munzer. Again, for the conditioning. You know, I always conditioning guys. Obviously, like, the typical Ronnie J, like, wow, your mind's blown when you see them. But I think, it's just so hard to pick one, but definitely the influential part, John Meadows.
Yeah.
Nelson.
It's funny. It's like I have like a lot of bodybuilding pictures up in my office. It's like I have Jay on the wall and I have Evan on the wall, and like I have so many bodybuilders I like. I would say Tom Prince has to be at least a mention. That's somebody who always I really thought like, holy crap, what a physique,
Yeah.
Just psycho looking. This might feel super mainstream, but when I started getting into bodybuilding, it was like 2007, 2008. Kai Green, that was like when he kind of like really started, and I became like unhealthy obsessed with Kai Green. I remember I saw him on a muscular development, and like I guess it must have been 07 because I was a senior. So I bought, like, we always got off at lunch to go, you go get lunch somewhere and you come back. And I would go to this, it's like we'd go eat whatever, and then we still had time over. So you're not supposed to go anywhere else, but I'm just like, time to blow. And I went by and I bought a muscular development randomly from like a Rite Aid or Eckerd or CVS, somewhere like that. And Kai Green on the cover. And I remember bringing it back to class and people were like, oh my God, that's gross. I'm like, that's exactly what I want to look like.
Perfect.
I want to look just like this guy. And they're like, that's disgusting. And they're like, you'll never, like, whatever, you'll never do that. It's like, oh yeah, I'm like 118 pounds. And I'm telling, like, of that day, I'm telling people, oh no, I'm going to be a bodybuilder. They're like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah, for sure. I want to look like him, like Kai Green. And so I don't know. I became obsessed with Kai Green immediately. So I would say that those are probably my two favorites: Tom Prince, Kai Green. Most influential. I feel really bad because I feel like I want to leave somebody out because this is like there's a lot of people who deserve credit for my learning. The first one was John, and he probably did a lot more for me than he even knows. But like I remember it was like 2012. He gave me a free, like the one-time diet. He gave it to me for free. Help me out. And I became a member of a site, and I asked him so many questions. Literally how I took it is like because you could just email him questions, and I took it as like I'm gonna get my money's worth. It's whatever it was. It was like $6 a month at that point. It was nothing. But like I had no money, and I'm just like I'm gonna ask him questions every day. So I asked him a question every day for like a year.
You basically got free coaching. You got free coaching.
You got free coaching out of it too, yeah.
I owe the man money, and I should absolutely send him some. Because honestly, that like even just like simple things, you're overthinking it. Like something like that, I'm like, oh, okay, kind of like let me realize like, man, I'm overthinking things. So I would say like he deserves serious credit. Phil Viz, I'd be remiss without saying that like he deserves a lot of credit because when I was just coaching bikini competitors, he like pulled me aside and was like, hey man, I think you're smart, I think you're, good at this. It's like I want to kind of put your name out there and like get you some real clients. And he helped me and like looked over programs and told me his opinion on things, and he helped me a lot. And I know some people like that's kind of like they don't like Phil or whatever. As far as like him attacking people or doing it's like he actually is like a super nice guy. Like when you know him, like and especially like what he's done for me, he's done more for me than anyone in this industry. And he might poke at people or whatever, but he's retarded nice. So you know what? I'll say Phil.
Okay. Todd?
Dude, it was funny what you said. I wish somebody would look at my picture and say, that's fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
That's when you know you made it, is when people think you're disgusting.
I think you're gross.
And It's funny too because it's like I remember when I tore my hamstring, I was so disappointed. I was like, I really believe in the Jordan Peters method, and I really want to be doing progressive resistance. And I feel like such a pussy taking a month of volume, and I'm not doing progressive resistance. And I'm laying in bed with a torn hamstring, and he makes this post of him doing 7-plate straight leg deadlifts. I was like, I'll never be as strong as him. I'm such a bitch. And he's like, yeah, this is before I tore my hamstring. I won't be doing those anymore. I'm like, motherfucker. And it's like, so I guess the thing about having idols is you put people up on a pedestal, and like the golden calf, it backfires because it didn't work for him. It didn't work for me. Maybe there's certain exercises that shouldn't be progressive resistance, like straight leg deadlifts.
100% agree with that.
Like 500-pound straight leg deadlifts when you're 200 pounds.
Well,
or when I warm up at 400, well, I'm such a pussy. But
I mean, John Jewett and Dominic Trivellini both tore their hamstrings last year doing stiff leg deadlifts.
Okay.
And that's just two I can think of off the top of my head. You know,
and this is my second time.
It's not hard to do. It's
really
not hard to do
doing
that.
It's 210 with 285 at 140 pounds.
Right.
So it's something about doing double your body weight with stiff leg deadlifts is maybe not the best choice first thing in the morning.
Right.
After pre-exhausting, so that your hamstrings are good and annihilated with 15 sets first. So that being said, I would say, what was the three? There was my mentor, influential.
Just your favorite bodybuilder of all time, and who was most influential to you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's too hard to answer, really. I guess I'm gonna have to say Joe Leahy was the most influential.
Okay.
That really changed the way I looked at, I don't want to say being a man, but an application of will to task. You know, like medical school was not nearly as hard as my first bodybuilding show. So, and I remember like crying and breaking down and being a bitch. And then like now it's like, it's just old hat. Like this ain't hard.
Yeah.
Right.
I always feel like I'm not working hard enough. And I don't think had I not met him, I don't think I'd be the same man as I am today 10 years later or 12 years later. As far as favorite bodybuilder, if you piece it all together, mentality, body, of course, because we're talking about bodybuilding, I'm going to have to say Lee Priest. Because it's hard for me to really emulate someone who's 6'11", right? Because I'm never going to look like that. Not like I'm ever going to look like Lee Priest, but I can fucking try. And if I get 80% of the way there, then that means that I might be fifth or something on the Olympia stage. Because that dude, he made that point that Ronnie Coleman's biggest regret in life is that he lost to Lee Priest 6 times in 1 year. And then Lee Priest's response was, he actually lost to me 9 times that year. So like he's so witty and he's such a shit talker. It's like he beat Ronnie, you know, everyone says Ronnie's the greatest bodybuilder of all times. Lee beat him 9 times in 1 year. You know, if you were to shrink Ronnie down, you get Sean Clarita. Would Sean Clarita beat Lee Priest? No.
But Ronnie would beat Sean.
Ronnie would beat Sean.
Even Sean.
Okay, your point. It's not a fair comparison anymore. But I still think that Lee's symmetry, even though he has ridiculous proportions, still was super symmetrical, like a Sergio or some shit. And so I know that no one says it. Everyone says other people that are more popular, but I don't know why. I just always keep returning to Lee Priest.
That's a really good one.
All right. Well, my most influential was probably Dorian. Just the training style, the mentality of bodybuilding and stuff, and that led me to finding people online like Dante and stuff that were influential the rest of the way. So that same mentality carrying through as far as training and just work ethic alone. But my favorite bodybuilders of all time, like Lee Priest, was my favorite bodybuilder of all time. That was my favorite, and Kevin Levrone. Yeah, those guys. I had a picture of in our weight room in high school when I first got on there. I was a freshman in high school. The first time I was in that weight room, and he was a bodybuilding fan, so he had cutouts from old Iron Man and Flex and everything else all over the walls. He just pasted them to the walls. And the first one I saw when I walked in and sat down was Kevin Levrone, and next to it was Lee Priest. And I said, I want to look like that someday.
Yeah.
And those were my favorites at that point. And then I found out who they were and started, read the magazines and stuff. And if there was a magazine that had Levrone or it had it had Lee Priest in it, I was going to buy it.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't have the money, I'd find the money to buy it because I had to have something that had those guys in it. So even to this day, I'll YouTube search old videos of Lee Priest, and just because the guy's funny,
It's
watching his form on the Blonde Myth is fucking instructional today.
Yeah.
His front lat spread is probably my favorite front lat spread of all time. Oh, I do
His
have
arms are so big.
I have one more person I have to give credit to because I feel bad not giving credit to everybody. But Porter.
Yeah.
I feel like, man, even before we were friends, like he took time for me when he didn't have to, It's like I feel like that guy helped out a lot of people and he bent over backwards to help people when he didn't have time. And even like was it Future Freak on the boards? Like he was on the boards giving out free information and like that don't screw up your contest prep thread that went on and on and on and on. He was over there giving free advice and here's what I would do, don't do that. Okay, why don't you change your thing like this? Upload pictures, I'll help you. It's like he was always doing stuff. So I mean I feel like he's probably influenced a lot of us, even in ways we don't think about.
I put Dante in that category too, at least from the health aspects and training side of things.
Yep.
Like, he doesn't prep people, he doesn't talk about conditioning,
not anymore.
But keeping a lot of us healthier and putting out information,
100%.
And always getting back to you when you ask him something or
absolutely, same day,
his opinion.
No matter how busy, no matter how busy he is, you can text him and he'll get back with you that day at some point.
It's like he's plenty busy, but I can't think of one time like. I'm expecting like maybe in 2 days, like he might get back. It's like 2 hours, and he's like, "Hey man, here's what I do with that." And I'm like, "God, this guy, it's like he's better at responses than I am." And
go get this, and this, and you'll feel fine in about 3 or 4 days. And let me know when you do it, and let me know how you feel.
Yeah,
that's honestly that's like something that I feel is just like, man, it's lost on a bunch of people. It's like he legitimately cares about bodybuilders' health, and if you say that something's wrong. He like a lot of times he asks you. He's like, "Yeah, let me know how it goes."
Blood.
That's how I want to be.
Take a look at anybody. And I don't want this to be like a message to everyone to go bother him or anything. But he's like, obviously, like, it's like, dude, it's like.
Well, I tell everyone to go onto the Intense Muscle forums and just type in dog crap and like look at, or was it dog? No, dog, but his name under the search. And literally just read everything. Like, suck all that stuff in. Him, I don't know if you guys remember a guy named Trevor Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was like 350 pounds. He had Nuclear Nutrition. He was another guy that, he's obviously since passed, but he had like these long things that he would just put out that you're like, oh, like you're breaking this down into such a simple way. Like, duh, And I feel like Dante wrote like that too in the Cycles for Pennies and all the threads and all the boards and stuff that he was on.
I was just going to say the Cycles for Pennies thread is like a training Bible. It really is.
It was like training training was like this for the most part for like most of the time, and then like Dante comes along and shares all this information, and then it kind of diverged a little bit. And obviously, there's a lot of stuff that carries over now, but like there was definitely a camp that switched that was like, all right, high intensity, one set to failure, rest pause, extreme stretching. And then the other camp that was like, no, volume. Don't worry so much about this intensity and these certain types of sets like rest pause or stretching and all that kind of stuff. So he definitely, and I think today we all use all these different principles kind of in a roundabout way now, which is definitely pretty cool. With that though, I got to run, gentlemen.
Yeah. I think we're done anyway. So I think we got a few questions left, but we'll do this again, and I'll just add them in, and we'll do them then.
I actually like this where we got Andrew and Nelson as regulars because it's just a lot of good synergy, and because we're so frequently doing this, we like click faster and better. Kind of like what I think what makes Fuad's podcast work so well is because.
Well, Andrew and I are going to start getting really grumpy here in a few weeks, I'm sure. So it might not be so good anymore.
That's part of the fun is watching Fuad and I go at each other.
Well, it's funny because you say that, like, obviously I do the exact same thing where you start dieting like as shows happen anyway. because it's like, especially if Rachel's dieting, you might as well.
Yeah.
It's like I end up starting to do it because it's like I hate, like, my face is like Regan Grimes. It's like always kind of fat, so I hate looking like that next to clients because it looks like I'm a fat slob. So I just end up like starting to diet like for pictures later. So I'm on the train with you guys right now. I am.
Who was that coach? Who was that coach? I think he was the first men's physique winners coach. Shit, I think he was like a Persian guy, but he like was in shape once in his life, and then every picture you saw him with his clients afterwards, he was like obese, like not just out of shape or like
Honey?
off season. I think he stopped.
Honey?
I think he stopped training altogether. No, it's oh man, it's gonna bug me. Yeah, no, he's a different Persian guy.
No, Honey wasn't.
Who's guy? Oh yeah, good point. but this guy was in like Hani was in better shape than this guy. I mean, this guy got to be like
Oh, really?
like 350 pounds when he should be like 170 to 180. Like, yeah,
He's
I'll think of
he
it later.
ate two of himself.
How the fuck do you do
Yeah,
that?
yeah. But
All right, guys. Thanks for coming on, guys. I really appreciate it.
absolutely,
It's been good. We'll do it again. We'll do it again soon. All right.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys.
see you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So